Hello, you all. I apologize if I am in my normal exuberant video self. I am not feeling the greatest today, so I apologize in advance. But this is my word study for the word kosmos in the Greek, which is actually the word world. You can see the word right here. This is the ESV. When I chose this word, I chose it in particular because I did my last word study on kingdom, and some important verses in the Bible deal with the world and God's kingdom. I really thought this word was going to be pretty straightforward. I mean, it's translated world. I don't know how diverse world can be, but I was actually surprised. So we'll get into some of that. So this is the ESV. I chose it because it's what Derek has had us use the most in class. And overwhelmingly, you see that it means world or worlds or worldly. And there's a little bit here where it says real existence or adorning. Real existence seems to be a little bit ambiguous to me, but adorning is so different than the word world to me. And so how could the same word be translated adorning? So I looked at some other translations. I'm going to see if it will let me do it on here. Well, I've got you here. Oh, here we go. So I tried the New Revised Standard Version because, that's the friend of seminary students. And for the most part, it was worlds or worldly. And then there were a bunch of other words that kind of had to do with adorning, like ornament or decoration. And then an interesting option I felt like was this word order, because that seems to imply a lot more than just like the substance of a world. It seems to imply more of like the functioning of a world, if you will. And then I had to look at the King James Version because, that's I'm a chaplain. That's what everybody that I deal with seems to like. This is the older generation's translation, and by far it is world or worlds, and then this little bitty piece of adorning again. I apologize. Let's see if we can get through this. So the New Language Translation is another one that I looked at. I keep doing that, and I think because I've seen a lot of younger people. I'm sorry, the New Living Translation. I've seen a lot of younger people kind of use this one. And again, it's all the same types of words. But earthly kingdom was another one. So it's really interesting, that idea of kingdom, when you'll see in a minute, my pericope deals with world and kingdom. And then people, which again is interesting, or everyone. So it seems to deal more with not just the world, but what is on the world. So if we look at the Lima, we see a lot more of these options. Natural order, world systems, the created world, people, good behavior, decoration, embellishment, delight, glory. So this is the Septuagint. And like I said, it's got a lot of other options. And what's interesting is it seems like the biggest one is jewelry. And then we have this idea of a military campaign or military service or troops. This one has no equivalent. And then the rest of these are really words that deal with adornment, jewelry, clasp, a bangle, or the idea of something being maybe delicate or precious. So we also have some senses of the word. The largest, again, is world systems. Close second is the idea of creation, which, again, this is interesting. It's not just the world, like the dirt and the water of the world like we think of, but the systems. And then here we have the people that live upon the earth. So overall, I think the translations and senses really point us to sort of a nuanced definition that really I think all of us have when we say world. We know when we say world, sometimes we mean the earth, and we know sometimes when we say world we mean the people, and sometimes when we say world we mean the way it functions. And so it seems like all of those options are encapsulated in this word cosmos, which is translated world, or well, anyway, that's the word we're looking at in the Greek. So the passage that we're going to look at is the same passage that I did with my last word study. And it is John 18:33 through 37. This is when Jesus is on trial with Pilate. If you watched my last word study, the conclusion that I drew on kingdom was that Pilate's idea of kingdom and the people that Pilate represents, and the Jews who wanted Jesus on trial, had a very different view of kingdom than what Jesus was talking about. So one of the things that was striking to me about the word kingdom was really how simplistic the view of kingdom was to Pilate. It's just like an area of land and people that you control, and very complicated. For Jesus, the idea of kingdom was much broader. And this entire conversation between Pilate and Jesus really seems like a play on words. Jesus is speaking truth. Pilate just doesn't understand what Jesus is saying. So I apologize. So when I looked at the word world or cosmos, it seems like the opposite is kind of happening. It seems like the word world is much more complicated to Pilate here. It could mean titles, and it could mean people and power, and some of those things we listed, and how those things are controlled by armies or land masses or systems or whatever. But for Jesus, it seems pretty simple. It seems like world just means everything that God created. So immediately it had me wondering about how our text, how the possibility of adornment could tie into this kingship that Pilate is discussing with Jesus. And it's almost like Pilate thinks being the king of the world is less about being in actual control of the world and more about the title with actual power, which makes sense because Pilate knows who is in control of the world, and he doesn't think at all that Jesus is in control. So when I looked at the morphology of this word cosmos, which if I didn't mention, I'm sure is where we get our word cosmos. Cosmos, not the drink, the cosmos. Cosmos is how it's said on here. I don't know if I can. I wonder if you'll be able to hear it. We'll see. Okay. So this word is always used as a masculine singular noun, I found out in the morphology, and most of the time it's genitive, which we'll find in our sentence. Most of the time it's genitive, not always though. So let's just read through this real quick. So Pilate entered his headquarters again and called Jesus and said to him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered, "Do you say this of your own accord, or did others say it to you about me?" Pilate answered, Pilate answered, "Am I a Jew? Your own nation and the chief priests have delivered you over to me. What have you done?" Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would have been fighting, that I might not be delivered over to the Jews. But my kingdom is not from the world." Then Pilate said to him, "So you are a king?" Jesus answered, "You say that I am a king. For this purpose I was born, and for this purpose I have come into the world, to bear witness to the truth. Everyone who is of the truth listens to my voice." And then Pilate asked the best question ever, what is truth? So we're going to spend a little bit more time in verse 36 here. Even though word is in verse 37, it's a little more straightforward. So we also see that this word here, world, this is the fourth one, is actually not translated cosmos. So we're not going to deal with that word there. It is, well, here, I'll just let it say it to you. Yeah. And it says it's an adverb here. So, but we're only going to look at these three words, cosmos. And obviously, these are very important words because they're spoken by Jesus. And so I think it's very important that we know how to parse out these nouns. What's interesting is when I did kingdom, it was so straightforward. It was like one definition, and there wasn't really a lot of parsing, they were all the same. This one, I think we have a lot more options. So let's start here. This is the first use of cosmos here. The phrase that it comes from is, my kingdom is not of this world. So here cosmos is a singular masculine genitive noun, so we have some possibilities. And so I think for the remainder of this video, what I'm going to do is literally work through the possibilities with you. So it could be a possessive genitive, I think, and say my kingdom is not this world's kingdom. I think it could also be a partitive genitive, where Jesus is saying my kingdom is not a part of this world. Or it could be a genitive of separation, where Jesus is saying my kingdom is not away from this world. So hold those in your mind, and we'll talk about them again in a minute. And then the second use of the word is this phrase, if my kingdom were of this world, my servants would have been fighting, that I might not be delivered over to the Jews. So if my kingdom were of this world. So again, this is a singular masculine genitive noun. And I think we have all the same possibilities here. We really haven't changed our train of thought. I think it could be a possessive genitive, where Jesus is saying, if my kingdom were this world's kingdom. It could be a partitive genitive, where Jesus is saying, if my kingdom were a part of this world. And it could be a genitive of separation, where Jesus is saying, if my kingdom were out of this world. And then we have the third use of cosmos. Let me see. It's down here. For this purpose I was born, and for this purpose I have come into the world to bear witness to the truth. So again, here's cosmos. And this is a singular masculine accusative noun. According to the morphology, that's a little uncommon. And I believe it's an accusative direct object. And I'm going to maybe not pay as much attention to it here in this discussion, because I think verse 36 is kind of the meat of what we can talk about here. So of those two, my kingdom is not of this world, if my kingdom were of this world. I think we have those three options still. And maybe if we just read through the whole phrase in each of the options. The first, and before I do that, I think that they should be the same. I think whatever we pick, we should pick the same option for both of the uses of the word cosmos. So if they're possessive genitives, I think it would read, my kingdom is not this world's kingdom. If my kingdom were this world's kingdom, my servants would have been fighting, that I might not be delivered over to the Jews. If they're partitive genitives, I think it would read, my kingdom is not a part of this world. If my kingdom were a part of this world, my servants would have been fighting, that I might not be delivered over to the Jews. And if they're genitives of separation, it would read, my kingdom is not away from this world. If my kingdom were out of this world, my servants would have been fighting, that I might not be delivered over to the Jews. So I think the first two options they seem very similar to me. Maybe just a little bit of a nuance of difference there, but I think that last option is really almost stating the opposite of what the other two options are saying. So I have the benefit of the other word study of kingdom, and in that word study, I came to the conclusion that Jesus was speaking of the already and not yet kingdom of God, which stands in contrast to the kingdom which Pilate is speaking of. So which of these genitive noun cases work well with that understanding? The problem is, Jesus is talking to people who have no idea what he's talking about. And the people who he's talking about as servants don't really know what he's talking about in this kingdom either. So I believe that Jesus' use of cosmos here is a lot like basileia, or kingdom. I think Jesus is speaking truth that would be understood by each hearer in a different way. I think he is saying, my kingdom is not this world's kingdom, and that's a truth. And I think he's saying that if his kingdom were this world's kingdom, that his servants would have fought for it. I think he's saying that his kingdom is not a part of this world, which I think is also true, because this is the, at least not fully, the already, but this is the not yet part. I think he's also saying that his kingdom is not away from this world. That's the already part. So I think the right answer for which ones it is all of them. I think it's kind of a cryptic kingdom of God truthfulness that Jesus is offering here, but he's sharing it with people who don't quite understand it. So I thank you for walking through that with me. And that's the end.